Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visite suprememastertv.com/schedule.
I nostri programmi sono offerti in molte lingue. Consultate suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Giotto, the Forerunner of Renaissance Painting, Part 2 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Vegan, effective healthcare.
When you are among the friendly people of the autonomous province of Vojvodina, you can say Pozdrav svima to greet them. It means hello everyone in Serbian, one of the main languages spoken in the region. I'm Branka. The warm people of Vojvodina are grateful to you for leading a benevolent lifestyle that brings peace and happiness to all. May heaven's doors be wide open to you. Welcome to our show, Giotto, the Forerunner of Renaissance Painting, Part 2 of 2. According to research, by around 1304, Giotto already owned a large estate in Florence and probably also owned a large workshop to fulfill the commissions he was receiving from patrons throughout Italy. Giotto's genius culminated in his famous fresco cycle in the Scravini chapel, also known as the Arena Chapel, dedicated to the Annunciation and the Virgin of Charity. The cycle is regarded as a significant watershed in the ever-evolving history of Western art. The color scheme for the Scravini chapel fresco is vivid and brings spring-like freshness to the chapel. Giotto completely departed from the Byzantine tradition of dark color tones in the golden background. He unifies the entire interior space with the ultramarine blue, a very expensive pigment made from a semi-precious gemstone. The orderly arrangement of the narrative scenes, naturalistic style, lucid colors, and masterful skill deliver a more classical feeling of balance and clarity rather than the medieval style of sobriety and rigidity. Among the frescoes, Giotto rendered a breathtaking drama in the work Betrayal. The depiction of chaotic weapons and flickering torches in the dark night creates a gripping atmosphere. The soldier in the background blows his horn to give the signal, perhaps for more reinforcements. Hasty Peter had just severed the ear of Malchus, the servant of the Jewish high priest Caiaphas, in trying to prevent him from capturing his master. In the vortex of this whirlpool-like clash, the dignified Jesus looks straight into the face of treacherous Judas, who is about to give his notoriously perfidious kiss. Giotto painted the two figures as the embodiment of the confrontation between indestructible righteousness and contemptible vileness. The intense stares of the four people around them bring more gravity to this focal point of the fresco, which has become an iconic image of the kiss of Judas. In his Lamentation, Giotto ingeniously presents an indescribably mournful scene. The distressed angels above are writhing with grief in different postures and hovering in a disorderly fashion, with a few painted in steep foreshortening to indicate hovering toward the viewer. The sorrow of the two men in the far right corner, perhaps Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, is depicted as more internalized and limited to the facial expressions and hand positions, befitting their character as elders. John in the middle ground bends over toward his beloved Master with outstretched arms, driven by ineffable anguish. Mary Magdalene tenderly holds Christ's feet in deep sadness. She contemplates the tortured feet of the Son of God, who had once walked everywhere barefooted and hath nowhere to lay his head for the love of humankind. The two women at each side of Christ cling to his hands in sadness, and the one with her back to the viewers seems to kiss his wound. As in some of his other frescoes, in this painting, Giotto boldly depicts two figures with their back towards us to blur the boundary between illusory space and the viewer's space. By doing so, he invites the viewer to be part of the scene and to empathize with what the figures feel. The outline of the rocky hill guides our eyes toward Mary the Virgin Mother and Christ's head. Mary is portrayed as crying without tears, the agony of a mother gazing at her lost son. Giotto's silent but powerful portrayal of Mary embodies the humanity of a mother that all of us can relate to. Giotto remarkably transformed flat, lifeless medieval religious paintings into convincing, emotion-charged biblical depictions to inspire his viewers human empathy and spiritual devotion. The large panel painting, Madonna Enthroned, commonly known as Ognissanti Madonna, is among Giotto's few works about which the authenticity is undisputed. It is generally dated around 1310. The work was originally painted for the high altar of the Ognissanti Church in Florence and is now displayed in the Uffizi Gallery of Florence, Italy, right beside two works on the same subject by two of the most prominent Tuscany painters among Giotto's contemporaries, Chimabues' Santa Trinita Madonna and Duchess' Rucellai Madonna. In his painting, Giotto depicts the Madonna seated on a canopied throne with the child on her lap and his hand in a gesture of benediction. The figures are surrounded by saints and angels. Although there are still elements from the Italo-Byzantine style, such as the Byzantine icon tradition of a gold background and Gothic throne, Giotto more realistically renders the figures, fabrics, and treatment of space. The innovative painter uses light and shadow along with the folds of the fabric to portray his figures according to human anatomy. His figures appear to be more sculptural, with volume and weight, and more majestic. Consistent perspective is applied in this painting, which is another difference from Cimabues' Santa Trinita Madonna. Overlapped heads suggest the depth of space, and the structure of the throne creates a more convincing three-dimensional illusion. The newfound naturalism in the painting makes it often celebrated as one of the major landmarks at the beginning of Renaissance painting. According to existing documents, Giotto was in Florence from 1311 to 1314 and 1320, so it's most likely that Giotto decorated the 4 chapels in Santa Croce during these periods. The frescoes in the 4 chapels were commissioned by 4 influential Florentine families, the Bardis, Peruzzis, Giunis, and Tossinghi Spinellis. However, the frescoes in the latter 2 chapels are largely lost. The Bardi chapel is situated just to the right of the main chapel of Santa Croce, and the Peruzzi chapel is situated next to it. The frescoes were whitewashed in the 18th century and later damaged during the process of cleaning and heavy reworking in the mid-19th century. After the removal of overpaint and careful restoration in the 20th century, Giotto's invaluable work is finally revealed as its true splendid self. In the Peruzzi chapel, Giotto painted the life of Saint John the Baptist and Saint John the Evangelist. This chapel was especially admired during the Renaissance. Michelangelo spent time studying the frescoes in the Peruzzi Chapel, which can still be seen in one of his existing studies after Giotto's Ascension of the Evangelist in the chapel. However, because Giotto painted this chapel using a different technique, secco, which is quicker but less lasting than a true fresco, the condition of this chapel's frescoes is in a regrettable state. Unlike the Peruzzi Chapel, the Bardi Chapel is dedicated to a single saint, Saint Francis of Assisi. In fact, Santa Croce Basilica is the largest Franciscan church in the world, and Giotto, the painter, was himself a faithful supporter of the Franciscan order. The fresco contains 7 sections of fresco to narrate the primary moments in the life of Saint Francis. They are in much better condition than the frescoes in the Peruzzi Chapel. In 1329, Giotto was called to Naples with a group of his assistants to serve the court of His Majesty King Robert of Anjou, or Robert the Wise, but few works from this period have survived. In 1332, the renowned painter was named first court painter by King Robert, where he remained until 1333. In 1334, Giotto was appointed chief architect to design the bell tower for the Florence Cathedral, where the Italian early Renaissance architect and engineer Filippo Brunelleschi later constructed his famous dome. Giotto died on January 8, 1337, and passed on his precious and lasting legacy to Western art. The new naturalism and humanism he introduced shed light on the path for the high Renaissance artists to come.
Every painting is a voyage into a sacred harbor. Giotto.
My wish for the future is no suffering or animal abuse, and no more deaths due to starvation in the world. Live with animals, share with them without killing and eating them, be vegan, and make peace. Mauricio Garcia Pereira, vegetarian.
Magnanimous viewers, thank you for your company today during Giotto, the forerunner of Renaissance painting, part 2 of 2. For the well-being of all, may humanity soon embrace the life-sustaining, plant-based diet through God's grace.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/AJAR.